Golden rays of dawn poured into my kitchen, casting a cozy warmth that breathed life into every corner. The scent of caramel and cocoa hung in the air as I nestled each treat into a small package, securing it with a ribbon that echoed the shade of Clark's favorite tie. My fingers paused on the knot a moment longer than necessary, clinging to the hope that this small act might bridge the gap between us. Gazing at the box, I murmured under my breath, "He's been so overwhelmed lately. Maybe this will lift his spirits." I slipped into my coat, the gesture more than just candy. It was a quiet promise that despite his grueling hours and mounting stress, I was his rock, his constant. I've always believed love lives in the subtle gestures, the daily choices that whisper, "I'm here for you, I see you." As I drove into the city, a familiar blend of anticipation and nerves fluttered within me. The urban pulse thrummed, horns blaring, pedestrians clutching steaming cups, voices weaving through the morning chaos. Yet, in my car, I carried a private world, picturing Clark's expression softening at the sight of the gift, maybe even saying, "You're incredible," like he used to before his job consumed him. Parking carefully, I cradled the box as if it held my very heart and stepped through the glass doors of his office building, eager to surprise him. The lobby carried a faint aroma of polished oak and fresh brewed coffee, alive with the buzz of ringing phones and hurried footsteps. I held the box close to my chest, as if loosening my grip might let it slip away. My heels tapped against the marble floor, their rhythm matching the quickening beat of my heart, though I tried to keep it steady. This wasn't just about delivering sweets. It was about showing Clark that no matter how much his work swallowed him, I was still here, thinking of him. At the front desk, I offered a warm smile, the kind that spills out when you're about to share a cherished secret. The receptionist glanced up from her screen, and I leaned in slightly. "Hello," I said, my voice bright. "I'm here to drop off some treats for my husband, Clark." I set the box gently on the counter, as if presenting a treasure for all to admire. For a fleeting moment, everything felt perfect: the ribbon, the box, the thought of Clark's reaction when she handed it to him. But as I waited for her to return my smile, something in the air shifted. It was faint, a hesitation too prolonged, a flicker in her eyes. My smile held firm, but a quiet thread of doubt tugged at me, unraveling the simplicity of my sweet surprise. I leaned closer to the desk, expecting her to accept the box with the same warmth I'd brought. Instead, she blinked, her face caught between confusion and shock. I brushed it off at first, telling myself she might just be tired. But the pause in her gaze tightened my stomach. I squared my shoulders, refusing to let nerves ruin the moment. The box rested between us, its ribbon neatly tied, practically glowing under the lobby's lights. I pictured Clark opening it, maybe boasting to his colleagues, "Check out what my wife made for me." That was the vision I clung to, one where we were still partners, where my small act of love held weight. I waited, silently urging her to say something warm, something that matched the care I'd carried here. But instead, a silence stretched too long, like a discordant note held in the air. My heart quickened, though I kept my expression calm. I didn't know it yet, but this pause, this awkward gap, was the first fracture in a foundation I thought was solid. And once it began, there was no stopping what would follow. Her smile vanished in a heartbeat, as if the room itself had been appended. She blinked, then let out a nervous chuckle that didn't reach her eyes. "Wait, your husband, Clark? That can't be right." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. My mind raced, replaying her words, each repetition hitting harder. My breath caught, but I kept my voice even. "Yes, Clark Turner, my husband. We've been married 5 years. Why?" My words were steady, deliberate, almost unfamiliar as they left my lips. I wasn't seeking reassurance. I was demanding it. The box felt heavier in my hands, like it was suddenly made of stone. Her face paled, and she stammered, "Clark never mentioned being married. He's been seeing me, but he always said he wasn't looking for anything serious because his career comes first." The world tilted. The walls seemed to press in. My hands trembled, the ribbons slipping through my fingers. In that frozen second, everything I thought I knew began to unravel. My throat tightened, but my voice emerged low, sharp, carrying a weight heavier than a shout. "So that's his career excuse. I hadn't meant to say it aloud until her eyes darted away, guilt flashing across her face. The irony stung. Every late night, every missed dinner, every empty promise of work first. It wasn't work. The box shook in my hands, my grip faltering. For a moment, I thought it might crash to the floor. I steadied it against the counter, fighting to hold myself together when all I wanted was to smash it to pieces. My chest tightened, but I forced a breath. I wouldn't let her or anyone see me break here. Inside, though, my world spun. Memories flooded me, Clark's smile on our wedding day, his promises of a shared future, his assurances that late nights were for us. Each one now bled betrayal. I clenched my jaw, lifting my chin to keep the tears at bay. I steadied myself, though my knees threatened to give way. How long? I asked, my voice calm, too calm for the storm raging within. The receptionist swallowed, her fingers fidgeting with a pen. About 6 months, she admitted, her voice shaky. I swear I didn't know about you. Her words hung there, heavy but meaningless. 6 months, half a year of lies woven into my life. Every late text, every night I sat alone, believing he was chasing his career. The truth pressed against my chest like a knife. My grip on the box tightened, the ribbon cutting into my palm, as if pain could anchor me to this crumbling reality. I nodded slowly, forcing a polite smile that felt fragile, unnatural. No, I said, my tone even but firm. You didn't. But now I do. Her eyes widened, but I didn't look back. I set the box on the counter, as if it still held meaning, and turned toward the door. Each step felt heavier, pulling me into a storm I hadn't chosen, but was now resolved to face. Outside, the cool air hit my face like a harsh wake-up call. Nothing was the same. I walked to my car in silence, holding myself together with every ounce of strength left. My hand shook as I gripped the steering wheel, but I refused to let the tears fall. Not yet. Not here. I had to stay composed. In the rearview mirror, my reflection startled me. Eyes darker, sharper, belonging to someone new. The woman staring back wasn't just wounded. She was strategizing. Beneath the sting of betrayal, a fiercer fire burned, steady and dangerous. Clark thought he could deceive us both, that his career excuse would cover his tracks. He underestimated me. Always had. While he wove his lies, I was gathering the strength to see through them. My chest rose with a slow, deliberate breath, and in that quiet moment, I made a vow. I wouldn't scream or collapse. I'd handle this differently. He had no idea who he was about to face. The drive home blurred by, city lights streaking like smudges in my vision. Tears came, hot and fierce, but they burned out quickly, leaving something sharper in their place. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the tears had dried into salt on my cheeks, replaced by a quiet, dangerous anger. I sat in the car, gripping the wheel until my knuckles whitened. Clark's voice echoed in my mind. Casual excuses, hollow promises. It's just work, Camila. You know how demanding it is. Those lies now taunted me, fueling the storm within. My heart ached, but my mind was already racing, plotting. Inside the house, the familiar scent of home wrapped around me, now tainted. Every photo, every piece of furniture we'd chosen together felt like props in a staged lie. I dropped my keys on the counter and leaned against the door, my breath steadying. He thought he could fool both of us, I whispered to the empty room. He's about to learn who I really am. Upstairs, I shed my coat, movements mechanical but my mind alive. I replayed the receptionist's face, pale, guilty, her voice trembling as she confessed. Oddly, I didn't hate her. She'd been deceived, just like me, pulled into Clark's web with the same lies that kept me waiting. My anger was for him, the man who'd tossed my trust aside like it was nothing. In the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face, watching droplets slide down my chin. The woman in the mirror was unfamiliar, not fragile, not pleading for his time or excusing his distance. She was awakening, and in that awakening, a dangerous spark flickered. The kind of strength born from betrayal. He's about to learn who I really am, I whispered again, savoring the weight of each word. My reflection hardened. For the first time that day, I didn't feel shattered. I felt powerful. The storm was just beginning, and Clark wouldn't see it coming. That night, the sound of his car in the driveway quickened my pulse, not with excitement, but with anticipation, like the calm before thunder. I sat at the kitchen table, the empty sweet box before me, its ribbon limp and lifeless. It wasn't just a box now, it was proof, a witness to his deceit. The door opened, his keys jingled, his shoes scuffed as he entered. Rough day, he sighed, loosening his tie as he stepped into the room. His faint, tired smile, once enough to melt me, now left me cold. He draped his jacket over a chair, adding, "You wouldn't believe the meetings." I tilted my head, studying him, my face calm, almost too calm. Did any of those meetings involve Megan from reception? The words cut through the air, sharp and smooth as a blade. He froze mid-step, his face tightening, color draining just as hers had. That split-second silence was all the confirmation I needed. His mouth opened, words stumbling out. "WH what? Why would you say that?" His stammer only stoked the fire within me. I leaned back, arms crossed, watching him flounder. The empty box sat between us like a silent judge, its hollowness louder than his excuses. I let him squirm before striking again. "Because I went to surprise you," I said, my voice steady, deliberate. "And she told me everything." I flicked my hand, sending the box sliding across the table toward him. It hit his side with a dull thud. His eyes darted to it, then back to me, panic flashing in his gaze. He swallowed hard, shoulders tensing. "Camila, listen," he started, desperation creeping into his voice. "It's not what it seems." But I cut him off, my words sharper than his lies. "Stop lying." My voice rang out firm, carrying a conviction he hadn't heard from me in years. "You told her you weren't serious because of your career. Funny how that career is about to cost you everything." He stepped closer, hands raised as if he could tame the storm he'd unleashed. "Camila, please let me explain." I didn't flinch, didn't give him room to spin another tale. For years, I'd bent to his excuses, swallowed his late nights, soothed his stress. No more. My silence cut deeper than any outburst, and he felt it. His voice cracked. "It was a mistake, I swear. She means nothing." The irony drew a bitter laugh from me, startling even myself. I shook my head, eyes locked on his. "You lied to me, to her, to yourself for months, and you think words can fix that?" "No, Clark. Not this time." I stood, my body calm but my blood ablaze with resolve. "You wanted your career as your excuse? Then let it be all you have left, because you've lost me." I brushed past him, his silence trailing me like a shadow. But inside, I felt lighter, knowing exactly what came next. The next morning, I gathered every document, marriage certificates, bank statements, the prenup Clark thought would shield him. My hands were steady as I organized them into a folder. This wasn't impulse, it was purpose. Each page was a weapon, and I'd wield them all. At the lawyer's office, I sat across her polished desk, the air cool and calm, my heart steady for the first time in days. She adjusted her glasses, reviewing the papers with a keen eye. "With his infidelity as grounds, you'll secure the house and joint assets," she said, her tone matter of fact, but sounding like triumph to me. A slow, bitter smile curved my lips. "Good," I replied, each word deliberate, heavy with finality. "Let him have his career. He'll need it because it's all he'll have." I could already see him alone in that office, his excuses useless, stripped of the life he thought he controlled. For once, the power was mine. Leaving the lawyer's office, my phone buzzed with Clark's name flashing across the screen. Missed calls piling up like his desperation could undo his betrayal. I didn't answer. For years, I'd waited, hoped forgiven. Now it was his turn to feel the sting of silence. At home, I packed methodically, each item in my suitcase peeling away another layer of his lies. His shirts hung in the closet, his cologne lingering, but it no longer broke me, it strengthened me. That scent had masked his secrets. Now it fueled my resolve to walk away. By evening, the house was still almost eerily so. I sat at the dining table, a cup of tea beside my folder of documents, while his calls kept coming. Each unanswered ring reminded me I'd reclaimed control. He was scrambling, but I was done. The war he'd started with his betrayal was over, and I'd won. The next time I saw Clark was across a conference table, my lawyer at my side. He looked diminished, deflated. His usual confidence crumbled. His hands fidgeted, his eyes darting between me and the papers before him. I sat composed, not a trace of pity left. He tried to speak, of course, excuses, promises spilling out, but I heard none of it. I let the silence stretch, let it choke him as his lies had choked me. When the final paper slid across the table, I signed with steady hands, each stroke sealing his fate as much as mine. As we left, my lawyer touched my shoulder. "You'll be more than fine," she said softly. I nodded, exhaling a weight I'd carried too long. Clark had lost everything that mattered, and for the first time, I wasn't the broken one. I was free. What came next wasn't survival, it was rebirth. Months later, my kitchen hummed with the aroma of cinnamon, vanilla, and warm sugar most mornings. What began as a way to ease Clark's stress had become my own. I turned my baking into a small business, filling my days with joy, purpose, and a peace I hadn't known I needed. The oven's hum, the clink of bowls, the soft laughter of customers, this was my new rhythm. One afternoon, arranging frosted cakes in a display box, my friend leaned on the counter, grinning. "Do you ever think about Clark?" she teased. I laughed, the sound light, free of the bitterness that once weighed me down. Wiping frosting from my hand, I shook my head with a smile. "Only when I'm reminded how good it feels to live without lies," I said, sealing the box with a flourish. In that moment, I saw the truth. Clark hadn't broken me. He'd freed me. His betrayal pushed me to reclaim myself, leading to a life richer than anything I'd known. Word of my bakery spread quickly. Neighbors, friends, strangers drawn by the warmth and care in every recipe. Each cake, each pastry was a step in my healing, proof that beauty could rise from betrayal's ashes. My customers left with more than sweets. They carried pieces of the strength I'd rediscovered. Whispers reached me about Clark. Megan had left him once the truth came out. His reputation at work was fraying, colleagues casting sidelong glances of pity and disdain. I didn't revel in his fall, but I couldn't deny its justice. He'd gambled everything and lost. Sometimes, I'd pass his old office building on delivery runs, those glass doors no longer painful. They were just another place where I discovered my true self. The day I hung the sign outside my shop, "Fresh starts baked daily," I stepped back, letting the word settle. It wasn't just a slogan. It was my story, etched in wood and painted with hope. Customers streamed in, the bell chiming softly, and I felt a pride born of rebuilding myself with my own hands. I whispered to myself as I arranged cupcakes. He thought he could fool me. Instead, he freed me. The words weren't bitter. They were liberating, like a blessing. I'd taken what was meant to destroy me and crafted something sweeter, richer, lasting. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. As the sun set, golden light streaming through the windows, I tied my apron and prepared for tomorrow. My life was no longer defined by Clark's lies or betrayal. It was defined by me, by resilience, courage, and joy. With every cake that left my bakery, I shared a piece of that freedom, one sweet bite at a time. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this.